It's about that time.
City Views, City Views.
What's happening in your city?
City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views.
You got love for your city?
City Views, City Views. City Views. Ah, City Views, City Views, City Views. Ah, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. Ah, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. Ah, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views.
Can you believe it? Another week has gone by and another episode of City Views is upon us.
That's right, another week.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in right here, 6 p.m. It's the place to be right here on Altice Channel Access 5 for another episode of City Views. My name is Jacque Williams. I'm your host. This is my lovely co-host, Coryse Villarouel.
Hi.
Unfortunately, our other two co-hosts, Karen Thomas and Kareem Holbrook, will not be with us this evening, but we're wishing him the best, and we'll be, sending out some warm vibes for them later on in the show. But, we love you. Keep the faith, all right? But in their stead tonight, we are fortunate enough to have Kathy Coyle with us, the executive director from Brooker Memorial, right on time.
I'm on time.
You're
That's
right on
amazing.
time, you know?
Welcome.
Thank you.
So
Doesn't
we're
always
gonna-
happen.
Yeah. Well, when you're busy though, you got
Well, that's
a lot
no
of stuff
excuse.
going on, But yeah, so we're going to be chatting it up tonight, and you can call all your friends and neighbors, tell them to tune in to your local access Altice Channel 5 for an episode of City Views.
Tune in or call in.
Oh, that's right. You got the number right there, and we do encourage you to do so, because it's all about connecting our community, and there could be no community without you in it. So let's get it on together. Want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our sponsors, which we're so grateful for their support. Our big city sponsors are as follows. Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street. Better protection, better value. They can be contacted at 860-496-7771 or at tothins@optonline.net. Mel Brickman and Health Markets, located at 16 McDermott Avenue, Suite number 1, Torrington, Connecticut. You better call Mel.
Better call Mel.
He can be reached at 860-307-1128, and his contact is healthmarkets.com/local-health-ins. Also, Brooks, Todd & McNeil Insurance, located at 69 Water Street in Torrington, keeping an eye on your insurance needs since 1839.
That's a long time.
A long time.
You know that's right. And they can be reached at 860-598-8753. And their website is Brooks Todd McNeil, McNeil.com. And lastly, Dr. Michael Curry, located at 30 Peck Road, Suite 2105 in Torrington, pediatric care for over 50 years. His number is 860-482-8177, and his contact is torringtonpediatrics.com. So we want to thank our sponsors for their support in helping us to bring you quality community programming each and every week right here on City Views. So as you guys can see, I'm in one of my more amorous moods today. But that's the way we roll here. A lot going on in the city, Coryse, and you got a big event that's
Yes.
taking place tomorrow.
Yes. I will be doing a presentation on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at the Chamber tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And we have invited some VIPs and all of our sponsors and some some other special guests. So we hope all invitees can join us for this amazing event. It's going to be a networking event as well. So, bring your cards, bring your business cards, bring
Yeah.
whatever it is you need to bring, and come network with us.
Yeah, I mean, networking is kind of fun, you know what I'm saying? You
It
kinda
is. It really is.
Put it out there like that, you meet, you never
Yeah.
know who you're going to meet, and
You never
what you
know.
might have in common and whatnot, but it's always great to have that opportunity. But Kathy, thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
And, it's so cool to have you here because, what we try to do here at City Views is get the word out about the cool things, the great organizations, and the resources that we have in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that Brooker Memorial, in its outreach efforts, just kind of has its tentacles in a few different aspects of the community that are really relevant in terms of community building. And we understand that here at City Views and what that's all about, and the hard work that it takes to meet those goals and objectives. Talk to our audience a little bit about your history with Brooker Memorial, and what it is that drives you each and every day to commit yourself to the mission of the organization.
Well, that's a big question.
I know. Why, we got an hour here to fill
All
up,
right, well,
so
I
I
can
want
do
to
that.
make sure
I can do that. I can do that. So, well, just looking in recent history, since I've been at Brooker for almost 20 years,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
we can talk about that. And in those 20 years, when I came on board to Brooker Memorial, we were offering some good programs, but we were pretty internal. We
Yeah.
were doing our thing, taking care of families and child care, providing dental care, but we weren't really connecting with the community, as you have mentioned is such an important thing to do. So when I came, my experience before that, for the past 13, 14 years before that, was all about community relations, executive management, and I understood the value of connecting with community. So we really took the opportunity to, over time, to turn Brooker from inward facing to outward facing. And one of the ways we did that was by doing a building campaign, so that not only did the quality of our programs inside happen, but it looked like quality programs from the outside. And
Yep.
those two things are really important. You can
Yep.
have the best programs inside, but if people drive by your building and say, ooh, that's kind of a tired old building, then you make the assumption that the programs are
Right,
tired.
right.
So
Very
we really
true.
needed to change that.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate that we could do that. So over those 20 years, we've added some new programs. We've enhanced our existing programs, and we're at a point now where the community largely knows what we do, but I always find a few people that say, what do you do at Brooker? So it's always great to have the chance to come on a show like this
Yep.
and to network in the community, as you said, and get out there and make sure that everyone knows what we do.
Absolutely.
So, so I'm happy to tell you more about and tell our viewers more about what it
Absolutely.
is that we're doing.
So
Absolutely.
tell us more about the current services that Brooker has to offer.
Sure. So child care is one of our flagship programs. We've been in the child care business since 1918, when the organization was founded. So we're 105 years old this year, and our first program was a day nursery, which is what they called child care back in the day. And it was also an orphanage at that time. So going back
Really?
and looking at
An
the history,
orphanage?
we had people,
Wow.
back in 1918, there were a lot of families that were really, really struggling. And what people forget is that illness was rampant in the early
yeah.
1900s. And so it was not uncommon for a mother to die. And a mother that died with very small children, a father, in those days, he was working, probably 15 hours a day, and there was just no way, if he had no family resources, there was no way to care for the children. So back in those days, can you imagine how the heartbreak of doing that? these people would come to Brooker and they had to leave their children. And so Brooker took care of them, and sometimes it turned out well. Maybe that man then met another woman and married again, and then they would go back and pick up the kids. You know, so it wasn't always forever, and it wasn't always an adoption scenario. It was more a temporary thing from the history that I can gather about Brooker. So that's a really interesting story. So fast forward, over the years, we became a more modern child care center. So today we offer care for infants from 6 weeks all the way up to kids in 3rd grade. So we provide preschool, nursery school options, infants, toddlers, and our whole focus is on education and preparing children for lifelong success. All of our programs revolve around lifelong success, and there's many ways to do that with education, with just loving arms and around kids and families. So we try to do that in all of our programs. So our child care program, we think it's one of the best ones in the community. We provide care to 54 children every day. So it's a busy place. There's always a smiling face around the corner. Today I went in and the little boy was wearing these bright yellow Crocs. And I said, "Oh, Noah, those are really nice Crocs." Oh, he smiled. He was so excited about his yellow Crocs. So just the joy of being around kids every day, that's part of what motivates me to say, how do we do it better? How do we make sure that we're providing the best services, satisfying families? How do we make sure that families leave here saying, that was the best experience I could have had for my child while I'm working?
That's good. That's good.
It's great that you bring up, the current, resource that you have now for, but I also think it's very, very interesting, the history that Brooker Memorial was built upon. Torrington has such a rich history, and Brooker Memorial is definitely a part of that history. And that's what has, especially when you're doing your 100-year anniversary, that's what kind of really impressed me in terms of, your role in making sure that that history continues, those traditions continue. So I think that ties in, to how, those current programs are being implemented today, so that sustainment of those legacies can continue. So
yeah, definitely.
I commend you on that regard.
So in terms of child care, so as you said, up to 3rd grade, can parents, if they have to go to work early, drop the kids off, and the bus would be able to pick the kids up and take them to school, and same thing with after school?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
And
that's a great thing.
So with the different model of the different grammar schools and elementary schools in the community, the break between the older kids and the younger kids.
Yeah.
So it's changed the busing and the patterns, but it still works out pretty well. So because of the age group that we serve, we work with 2 schools, and we do the busing with the school district back and forth in the morning and in the afternoon. So we're able to really enable families to go to work. That's really what we're trying to do, so that they can support their families and kind of make a better tomorrow for their family.
How is it, I'm curious, your outreach, how do you work within the community with the other organizations that also deal in that sector?
Very collaboratively, I guess I'll say that. And actually, it's interesting you asked that question, and since we're talking about the city and this community, it's a great time to say, I was at a lunch meeting today, and we had the Center for Youth and Families speak at Rotary today.
Right.
And they brought Danny the service dog. Have you met Danny the service
No,
dog?
I have not.
Have you, Jacque? She's
Yeah?
beautiful. So anyway, she plays, I don't think you asked me to come here and talk about other organizations, but that's really the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Collaborative and sharing.
Yeah.
And Danny the service dog really sits in on forensic interviews with children who have been sexually abused.
Really?
And many other situations where kids really need just a support factor to get over their trauma and to heal. And Danny just is there for these kids, and they were talking about how amazing it is that the kids, they're able to get through this difficult process, and they're able to see tomorrow, and
Wow.
there's nothing better than that. That's what we
picture
want for
this,
every
this
kid.
golden fluffy.
It's actually a beautiful black
Really?
Portuguese water dog.
Oh, so
Absolutely
curly
beautiful.
hair.
No, they have the Portuguese
curly
water
hair.
dogs are curly, or
Okay.
they have the silky kind. So
Oh.
apparently there's 2. So
I never knew
we're
that.
the curly kind,
Right.
and that one is the silky
I'm
kind.
like, is it a cross between our hair?
Right. So it's soft, and they said the
Wow.
reason that they went for the silky one is because some children have sensory
Okay.
issues, and so touching the curly hair, well, I was a little offended by
I'm offended by
but
that.
it's okay. But they said that there's less tactile stimulation
Okay.
with the silky, so they went for the
Fine,
silky,
fine.
which is fine. Okay, but she is a beautiful dog.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, what we were saying
and
at
then
that
the
meeting.
water dog, I think
Yeah.
they're also they have like human style hair, right? So
No, it's hypoallergenic, no shedding, all that jazz.
Yeah,
So just
okay.
a perfect dog for
Yeah,
so anyone
that
can.
type of, yeah.
So that was a really interesting lunch. And one of the things that I spoke with Jean Fusco from Susan B. Anthony at the meeting was about how the Northwest corner is different from the rest of the state in
Right.
that we collaborate. If we have a project or we have a problem or we have a question or we need to know, like at Brooker, we want to know what's your policy on giving families a free week for vacation
Right.
in childcare. Well, our childcare director will get on the phone and she'll call up her peers and say, what do you
Right.
guys do for this or what do you do for that? And they'll call us to say, what are you doing around COVID and vaccines and how are
okay.
you interpreting this new legislation? So we work together, and that's not just in the child care sector, it's across the board, and
Right.
that's
That's good.
the beauty of Northwest Connecticut. That
Right.
just doesn't happen. I worked in other communities across the state in my nonprofit experience, and it's not always like that, but it's always like that here. It's
It
very
is.
impressive.
It is. I can definitely vouch for that. But I think it's kind of the necessary ingredients that a community that is unique, such as ours is, to utilize the resources that they have in order to grow and meet the challenges that that we're going to be facing in the future. What time is it? Can somebody give me a heads up on the time?
6:17.
6:17.
Yeah.
We should be getting a call here very soon from Michelle, our state district rep. But it's interesting because the last few weeks we've been talking with her. It's been regarding her position on the childhood committee that she serves on. And she just got back from a convention in I think it was Nashville.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah. So, these concerns are now being amplified because social media is something that's changing the landscape for all of us. But it's especially affecting them and impacting them in a more unique way. And getting on top of these and getting on top of these issues and being proactive as a community, I think is where our best strengths are going to be directed, so that we can hopefully create a pathway for them in their development that enhances the quality of their life. So
Sure.
we were talking earlier with a few friends and reminiscing about our childhoods and how much our childhood was different than the childhoods of later generations. And we're at a point where I think we have to be very, very focused on the values that we're instilling in our children. And I don't have any kids. However, I think it's very important that adults be aware of what's going on around them, because you never know when you're going to find yourself in a position where a child may need you for whatever the situation might be.
Well, I think every adult, whether they know it or not, have an influence
Yeah.
on a child. Even just from saying a hi or walking past a child, you will leave an impression on that child. So it is very important, like you said, that we recognize that and be able to deal with that and relate to that and make sure what we're putting out there, especially when we're around children, is something positive.
Some people says it takes a village to raise a child, but I think it takes a committed community, committed village to raise a child, because and that's one thing that, when we were having these discussions, we were kind of, we understood the environment that we grew up in, and we knew that it wasn't just our parents that would discipline us if we did something bad, but that kind of gives children a sense of security. Those boundaries, when they're set, it kind of, okay, someone's looking out for me. And it's very difficult to discipline a child if they're not corrected at a younger age, because as you grow older, you want to exceed those boundaries. It's just human nature. So I think understanding these concepts and having the resources available and knowing where they are so that we can help in those situations, especially those emergency situations, are just highly important.
For sure.
Yeah. So how many people does Brooker employ to help service these 54?
We have 35 full-time employees and another 10, 15 part-time seasonal employees as needs arise. But most of our folks are pretty steady and work year-round. And so we have about 13 staff in childcare, 13 in dental, and then some of our other programs.
Now, when you say 13 in dental, are they dental hygienists?
They're the
Okay.
so I'd love to, if now's a good time, I'd love to chat about our dental program. That's another one of our
Well,
programs.
if-
Unless we need to,
Do we have the call coming in?
I think
or?
we do. Can
Oh,
you check
Oh, we
that out?
do. Let me check.
Yeah.
Michelle, are you there?
I am here.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So what's cooking?
Well, what is cooking?
We have Kathy Coyle from Brooker Memorial on with us this evening.
Hello, Representative Cook. How are you?
Hello, Kathy Coyle. Nice to talk to you.
Sure.
And we're just having a pretty interesting conversation in regards to childhood, child care, and we were going over some of the programs that Brooker Memorial offers, and seeing as they're steeped into child care and development, we thought it was an interesting segue into your calling on the show.
Well, I will say I have to give a huge shout out to Kathy, all of her staff in Brooker. They do an amazing job down there. And I'm sure that she tapped into the fact that it's not just child care, but it's overall child health down there. And I think that that's so vitally important to recognize. So I just want to thank them for everything that they do. It's fantastic, and they're good partners.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and we had a chance to touch briefly on the deep tradition and legacy that Brooker Memorial has in the community, and how important that is in keeping those legacies alive going forward.
Absolutely, and I think that when you have people that are dedicated to a cause, and they make brick and mortar commitments to that, it helps folks, generations to come, continue that legacy. So I couldn't agree more with that.
And the legacy, the tentacles that they have in the community too, in the different sectors that they're involved in, and those collaborations exist in, I think also just makes a more collective community impact with the initiatives that they bring to the table. I'm sitting here, I'm just talking like like a
I don't have a dispute with any of that, so I'm not sure how I could respond other than you're 100% correct.
There you go.
Well, Michelle, it's going to be
So my
interesting.
job is done here.
Not yet.
Not yet, Michelle, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Now, Michelle, can you tell us how you've worked with Brooker Memorial, over the years?
Well, I think it goes twofold. I mean, Brooker Memorial, starts with early childhood, and so I think that a lot of the work that we do, and we've talked about it on this show several times, at the state level, helps them to be able to do their job there. We help with, if they access care for kids dollars and reimbursement rates, and allowing their parents to go to work and their kids to go to school. Fighting for teachers, salaries also makes a huge difference for them too, because if we can get increases, then they can get increases. The same conversation when we talk about reimbursement rates for dental, that helps them as well to to be able to do the great jobs that they do for kids that might otherwise not see a dentist, and to be able to ensure that they have what they need in those regards. We're working on something now, and I don't think that that's my place to have that conversation. I think that that would be something for Kathy when she's ready. But to be able to give them the assistance they need, whether it be grant funding or what have you, to expand their programs and move along, all of the things that anybody needs, and, as you've said and we've discussed, several times, it's really about community partnerships and what we can do from at the state level to help folks at the ground level here in town.
Well, I think great leadership starts at the top, and I think we're fortunate in our region to have leaders in their organizations that are committed and dedicated to the cause. And I think too, having that schematic work out where now there's pathways to actually have these initiatives implemented, and your position as our representative, I think is starting to kind of formulate best outcomes.
It is. I mean, it is very exciting to be able to see kind of the fruits of your labor, and that means something different to everybody. But for me, it's far-reaching, because not only are you able to see the partnerships that have been formed and some of the gaps that have been filled, but it's also really nice to see that the dedication and the commitment just to continue to make our community a better place. And that starts, with our youngest. And me, like, I have a huge heart for our little guys and girls. So I do believe that is something that we're actually, doing very well with. I mean, and to transition that conversation, I just got done walking the new high school, middle school project.
Ooh, exciting.
And
that sounds really exciting.
It's fantastic. And I know that there's naysayers out there, and it's not going to be this and it's not going to be that. I just want to ask people to just take a step back and give it some time, because our kids learn by us, and if we're negative about it, then they're going to be negative about it. And we are building one of the most impressive buildings that this community, this corner of the state, and possibly the state has seen. It might not have everything that everybody wants, but at the end of the day, it's the most modern, safe. It's got a greenhouse in it.
Wow.
This is a state-of-the-art facility, and that's happening right here in our neck of the woods for our kids. And within 2 years, they're going to be in that building.
Very exciting.
That just, for me, that gives, when Kathy and all of our other preschool folks are doing what they do, that gives them something to look forward to and to strive for. To say, you know what, I get to go to school in that building, and people have to have goals, and starting those goals young is not a bad thing.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
I'll post
I mean,
some pictures soon.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to see pictures. So what is going to happen with the old middle school building?
So the old middle school stays where it's at, and it will be fifth and sixth grade, if I'm correct. And then 7th and 8th will go at the high school on one side, 9, 10, 11, and 12 will go on the other side. They have their own entrances and exits. They have their own gymnasiums. They have their own cafeterias. The only thing in the cafeteria that is shared would be the kitchen, but each of them will have their own lines and their own sitting areas, and they will not engage, during lunch times and so forth and so on. They both have their own libraries, and so forth. So, it's in the middle school will stay where it is at.
Okay.
That will not be closing.
Now, what else is in this building? Are they going to have a pool in there as well? Like, can you tell us a little more?
That's a bad word. That's a bad word. I mean, we would look, fundamentally, it would be great to have a pool in there. Insurance-wise and liability, that's a lot to ask for.
That is a lot, yes.
And quite frankly, we don't have a lot of space. We are living within the confines of the property of where we are. So you will have, we've got 2, 4, 6, I think we have 8 lab spaces on the high school, and then I don't remember how many lab spaces are on the middle school. the thing is 5 stories, 6 stories. We have a brand new preschool with its own playground and its own entrance and exit there for like the preschool lab that's there. They're adding, carpentry and auto tech and some other things. We have a brand new, beautiful auditorium with 4 seating, and then on the outside in the garden area, if you will. So it'll have on the outside of the auditorium it'll be fixed towards a movie screen, so you can show movies outside in their garden area between the middle school and the high school.
Wow.
And the Board of Ed is on the very, very top floor of the high school side.
Really?
So if you're looking at the new building, the round building, the one that looks like it has a round shape to it,
Yep.
that is the high school side. And then the flat, straighter side on the right is closer to the old building. That's the middle school side.
Okay.
But on the very, very top floor, closest to the pond, is where the Board of Ed offices are going to be.
So the Board of Ed offices is going to move from where it currently is. That building is going to be shut down.
Right. Correct. And then
Okay.
I believe with that building, I think that they've wanted to close Midget Avenue for quite some time. It's a very old building. It's not energy efficient.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I believe that that'll just sit, and do whatever they're going to do with it. But the Board of Ed itself is moving up to the high school.
That's very nice. And what is going to happen to the old high school building?
That gets torn down. So, and then they'll end up putting on the new fields, new parking, and the like. Once they get the kids moved in from the old building to the new building, then they can start the demolition on the old building, and then doing that. So you'll have, new fields. We have to relocate the entrance to the track and field that we built about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So that entrance will be relocated. Then you'll have to do tennis courts. Because those are those are gone now, so you'll have to relocate the tennis courts. Those are going to go behind the home grandstands that are currently there, because none of the field and stuff is getting torn out. The new field, that all stays, and the grandstands and all of that stays. So where the softball practice field is where the tennis courts are going to go.
Okay.
And then they'll redo like the softball field and so forth and so on from there.
Michelle, you're making me want to go back to high school.
Not me.
I know. I walked through it, and today it was so exciting today because they have like some labels on what the classrooms are.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I was in like the earth science labs and the health labs and the health, like
Wow.
all of the things, walking, past where the preschool lab is. And for me, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
That they're actually getting a playground and something for the kids to do outside of the classroom as opposed to what they have had currently for so many years.
Right.
And, so just so many modernisms that our kids have been so, not that where we are is terrible, but they're behind on some of those modern technologies that maybe some of the newer builds have been over the last, 10, 15 years.
Michelle, I think it's
it's very exciting.
Michelle, I think it's interesting that a few minutes ago we were all talking and I was saying how the quality inside at Brooker was not evident from the building outside. And I think the same can be said for the high school. I've met so many young people that have gone through Torrington High School, and they're bright and they're determined and they're moving on with their future, and they're successful and doing great. But from the outside, the building was tired, and it makes people say, oh, what could they possibly be doing in there learning? But now we're going to have a shiny outside and all the amenities, and we're still producing kids that are driven and smart and educated and ready to change the world. So I think Torrington High School the facility is going to continue to put Torrington on the map. People are moving here, and it's going to be another reason.
I agree with you, and I think that's part of the vision, right? So, the whole, field of dreams, build it and they will come kind of a concept. We built a brand new athletic facility on the outside. We're building a brand new high school, next to that. And I'm hoping that really helps our community thrive and, let businesses know, hey, look, we have a tech school here. We have a high school here. Like
Right.
all of these great things that we have here, and this is a place that you can come and raise your family. We're a great community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, those are the things that really, really matter. And that's why it's so important that's why it was so important for me to get involved in this project. My next project will be to continue to try to find a place for our new tech school. but I don't have enough acreage. So, you know, and I'm kind of greedy in that regard. I don't want to release it to another community. I love the fact that we have our tech school and our high schools right across the street from each other where they can collaborate. That, for me, is important for our kids. You know, if there's not a, you know, because they don't have a marching band or a concert band or orchestra or choir at tech school, they can come right across the street and participate with our kids.
Yeah, you're right. That is very important. And I think, you know, along the lines of if you build it, they would come. I think everything with this high school project is happening at the right time, because not only if you build it, they would come, but we have had an influx of people since COVID that it needed to happen, and it just happened at the right time.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. And, you know, I think we had, I don't want to misquote the numbers, but I definitely know that we had over 30, 35 kids come to the high school specifically. I don't know about the other grades, you know, and we want to keep them, you know, so that's why when you walk into these classrooms, they all have smart boards. It's, you know, like I said, it's a smart building. And it's wired and ready to go. It's nothing that you have to bring in and add to the wall. It's all being built in accordingly to ensure that our kids are ready for what's next.
That's great. So no more early dismissals because it's too hot outside.
No, this building will have air conditioning.
Wow.
Perfect.
And I, you know, and I think it's also something that we should say too, that they're taking all the safety precautions as well, you know, to ensure that there's, you know, bullet-resistant glass in some of the, you know, in some of the windows and things like that, to ensure that, you know, you don't have to open and close the windows. There's air conditioning. It's not going to be this 900 degrees on the third floor kind of a deal. And we recognize that safety is the most important for our student population.
Yep.
So, you know, you walk into the high school in one entrance, you walk into the middle school in another entrance. They both have their own drop-offs and picks up for buses. So, you know, the grades don't interact in that regard as well. And I know that was a huge concern for folks.
Right. And
You know,
unfortunately, in today's world, we do have to be very concerned with, you know, safety. You mentioned the bulletproof glass. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is in today's world, and to put parents' minds at ease in terms of you know, all these safety precautions, whether it be just the bulletproof glass or the middle school having its own drop-off. I know that was a concern of mine when my son was at a magnet school. You know, my fear was it was middle and high school, and they all interacted together, and I'm an hour away, and you know, you're concerned of some of these high school kids might be bullies, may not be, but it's still high school kids, big age gap, big age difference, and it is a concern.
Right. So, I mean, and, you know, to that point, everybody's taking you know, all the precautions. And that was the one thing that I said today when we were walking around. It's sad that we have to have this conversation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it
But
is
we have
sad,
to have it.
but, you know.
So, well, I'm going to hop off and get to my next requirement of responsibility and work here.
Busy.
I have a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor and the Attorney General, so I'm getting ready to go do that. If anybody has any questions or concerns or what have you, please don't hesitate. I say it all the time. Reach out. We're happy to answer any questions that you have and give any assistance that you need.
All righty. Well, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for calling in.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, and I hope that you all continue to pick Kathy Coyle's brain.
We will. We're moving on to dental now. I'm very curious to continue our dental conversation.
Little does she know we're going to
excellent.
add her to the co-host list. This is an audition. She didn't know that.
Well, thank you all for everything, and I look forward to next week's conversation.
As always, my dear.
All righty.
Thank you.
Take
All
care.
right, you all. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Oops.
Okay. All right. So that was quite an interesting phone call with Michelle Cook there in our What's Cooking Corner.
Yep.
She's always a wealth of knowledge and information, and just updating us on everything that she's working for and fighting for, you know, our little corner here.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely very amazing. Great talking to her.
But one thing that she touched on in her remarks, and I think this relates directly to what's going on with Brooklyn Memorial, when you saw the need for the brand of Brooklyn Memorial to expand. and now you're incorporated into all the different sectors in the community, the social services sector, the arts and culture sector, the business sector, and that is a result of innovative leadership. And I can only imagine how many nights you stayed up wondering, how am I going to fund these initiatives? How am I going to put this in place? How is this going to come together? So now, after these years of seeing successful rollout of these programs and whatnot, how does that encourage you going into the future in terms of how Brooker Memorial is going to continue that brand?
Well, I think we start with the really basic building blocks, and that's what we did. We said, let's take our basic programs and make sure that they are running as efficiently and as effectively and with the highest quality that they can be. And so then we have good products. So we have a great dental program, we have a great child care program. Once we had those established, we began to add some other programs, smaller but still important, based on what the community needed. And so as we began to build the tower, if you will, or just to stack up the programs, each program reaches a different audience and interacts with different parts of the community. So I think that that what we did, it really community relations and connecting with other agencies doesn't cost a lot of money. It costs a little bit in some staff time, because you have to say, okay, I'm going to pay for your position, and your job is to go out into the community. Lisa Ferris, who works for us, she's our dental program manager.
Shout out to Lisa Ferris.
Yes, indeed.
The
Lisa
Ferris
does
of
a
them
great
all.
job. So she goes out there, and her job is also community relations. So by funding her and giving her the ability to go out and talk to businesses and other nonprofits and community people and organize our participation in the Strawberry Festival or whatever it might be, to be at Kids Play and to coordinate our staff being out at these events. It all begins to add up, and it multiplies. So I think that the financial part is not as significant in terms of our relationships and the community relations and the collaborations that we've developed. I think where the financial challenge for us has been just making sure that we can fund the programs that we offer. Because we offer our dental program, and 80% of the kids that come to our dental program have Husky insurance, which is the state Medicaid program. So the Medicaid reimbursement rates, as Representative Cook was mentioning, are very low. So if you're a private dentist in the community, your fees are here, and we're getting paid way down here. So when you look at those revenues for the services we're providing, at the end of the day, we paid our staff and bought equipment and bought supplies. Those expenses are more than what we're bringing in for revenue. So that deficit, that loss that the program creates, is the challenge.
Right.
So we know that the care is needed, we know that we're doing a great job providing it, and we know we have a great program that is
Right.
needed. And so fortunately, this is where this little book comes in. This is a little storybook that was written in verbatim from the remarks that Charles Brooker made in 1918.
How old
when
is
he,
this book?
That book is probably 70 years old.
Wow.
So his remarks, and there's pictures of the original buildings in there, and it's kind of my Bible for Brooker. So you say, what inspires me? History inspires me. So I look at this, I read this, and I say, if he was so... He knew what he wanted to do.
Hold on. Where's the camera? Look at that.
Those are the 3 buildings that were donated by the Brooker family in 1918.
Isn't that amazing? Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's
Full
a great shot. Yeah.
There we go. Wow.
So anyway, Mr. Brooker, when he established the organization, he laid out the first programs, but he said, but I know that this organization will be in good hands, and you will do with it what my original intentions were, but you will go beyond that as the community changes. He was so smart to know that in 30 years, the needed programs will be different than they are today. And he basically gave the board and the community this gift and said, make of it what you will. And he also established an endowment fund. He said, here's the buildings, here's the property, here's the programs we're going to start with, and here's some money for the future. And that money and other people donated to that fund, and that income that is derived
There's Mr. Brooker right there.
is what allows us to run the dental program and the child care program, and be able to, in child care, that, you know, we don't charge families what it costs us to run the program. They couldn't afford it.
Right.
So we're able, thanks to Mr. Brooker and many other people over the years, we're able to subsidize the programs that we offer. And that's what's most unique about Brooker, is that we have an endowment that enables us to offer programs that most other nonprofits would not be able to sustain.
That's just a fantastic narrative.
That's amazing.
It
That's
is.
really
It's a great story.
thing, yeah.
Mhm.
Really
It's
great
also
story.
kind of exemplary, though, of the type of individuals that that were in Torrington at that particular time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have the Coe family and the Hungerford family and whatnot. So there's definitely a rich tradition and legacy that's there in the city of Torrington. Now, I want you to talk to us a little bit about, you know, as you're kind of expanding on the Brooker Memorial brand here, how you got into the arts and culture. Because I thought that was a brilliant move, because now you not only have a legacy in terms of your programming and how families are benefiting from that, but now you also have a community legacy where you have a community relic that can be identified as part of the burgeoning arts and culture scene that's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we started talking about the building project, that was probably 2010, and it took us a long time to come up with the right plan and the right things and the right architect and all that. So when the building finally opened in 2015, a couple years before that, one of the things that I said to the board is, we need a piece of sculpture. We need something on the property because kids don't identify 157 Litchfield Street. That's where I want to go to get my teeth cleaned. No, that's not what they want. I don't want to go to child care at 157 Litchfield. I want to go to child care where the big purple dinosaur is on the lawn.
Yep.
And that's where I started. I said, we need to have something that the kids will identify with and say, I go to the dentist where there's a big pink toothbrush or whatever it was. So we started out with no concept of what the art would be. But I said to my board, I think we need a piece of art right in the front of the property.
And let me tell you, that has been a conversation piece.
Glad to hear it,
It
because
really
that
has.
was the whole idea.
No matter who I run into, and you would even see it on Facebook. What is that structure
Yeah,
in front of
yeah.
Brooker? What is that? Like, it is a conversation
It's
piece.
awesome, and that's just what we wanted. And so we had 80 submissions of art, and at the same time that we were, and I need to thank the Robert Rosenheim Foundation, because they funded that sculpture, and we would not have been able to do it, you know, because we want to put our money into our programs that are helping people, and even though I think art helps people, you know, you can't do everything.
Right.
Correct.
So so we were able to talk to the Rosenheim Foundation, and they funded it, and we had a great committee of community volunteers, and at the same time we were choosing the artist to make the sculpture. The culture district was approved. So it was such perfect timing, and I think just us being out there and involving the right people on our committee, they knew we were building this sculpture. They knew we were right on the fringe of where that cultural district was going to be, and so we just made a little jog. Not we, I did not have anything to do with that, but Rista and the mayor and Judy McElhone, they all said, we need to include Brooker in the cultural
Absolutely.
district, and we're so delighted because we've been involved in arts. You know, I don't know if you remember, probably 15, 17 years ago, we did the Yarn Bomb.
Yeah.
And we participated in that just
Yep.
because we think that anything we can do around the arts and involve the kids,
Yes.
then the kids are being exposed, and then they feel like they're part of it, and this is theirs.
Right.
They own it. And so just for all those reasons, we've been kind of playing around in the arts and realizing the significance of the arts in all of our programs, and the sculpture was really the culmination of that. So we just love it. And funny story, we had 2 finalists, and the heart sculpture, All Hearts United is what we named it through a contest, but that was not my first choice. And I will admit on camera that I was wrong. That I think that thankfully we had a very smart committee, and the voting was, I think, 4 for the heart and 2 for the second place. And I think that the 4 people on the committee that voted for the heart, I think it was the right choice. I really, really do. The other piece was amazing also, but I think this really captures so much about Brooker,
And
about the
encapsul-
community, about what we do.
encapsulates it,
It does.
yeah.
It's just amazing.
The unveiling of that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, that was
that
fun.
was
Yeah.
definitely something to marvel at. But you know, it's great having you on the show today, Kathy, and we were so looking forward to this because you know, this is what we want to continue to do, because we understand that, you know, especially in today's world, local information is kind of hard to come by, and this is a 30-year long running show, and I always give props to, you know, Tim Driscoll and you know, Sam Slaby for continuing the show, and it's now we're at a point where we can really take the show into different to a different level in terms of community engagement, and that's why we were so excited about having you here, because I personally have always liked Brooker, and we've had a chance to work, you know, in the past on different things, and I think that one of the things that we did an exercise a few years ago called Working Cities Challenge, and one of the things that through the focus groups that we learned through that challenge is residents saying that they weren't getting the information flow either in a timely manner or at all. So I think this is one of the ways we can kind of help fill that information gap and make sure that families know where the resources are in the community to get the help that they need. So
if anyone would like to contact Brooker, I think, you know, in this day and age, especially since COVID, a lot of parents are finding themselves having to work 2 jobs. Prices have gone up on so much, and they're struggling to provide childcare and certain services for the kids. So is there a website or a phone number that you'd like to share with the
Sure,
audience
I'd like
for them
to.
reach
Yes,
out
thank
to?
you very much. The website is the best way to find out information about all of our programs, and that is www.brookermemorial.org, O-R-G. And you can also call us anytime at 860-489-1328. And if it's easier to remember, you can dial 489-KIDS, K-I-D-S. That's
There you
also our
go.
number. So we're
Kids
happy to
of
talk to
Brooker?
anyway. Kids, right?
1-800-KIDS.
And is there someone to help with, you know, the Spanish speaking?
We are working on that. We did have a Spanish-speaking, and we called the position an interpreter, and she really, her job was to help families with the language, the Spanish language, and she did a fantastic job for us. But she's moved on to another position, and we're, you know, we're finding that we're trying to create a position that is going to be busy all day, have enough to do helping families, but be
And not
able to
just
do
sit
some
around
other
and wait,
things.
yeah.
Exactly. We can't just have someone, you know, we need to be efficient. That's how you run a nonprofit. So we're, you know, my board is supportive of the concept, and so if anyone's interested in
There
kind
you
of some public relations, working with the community, going out to other organizations, learning about resources out in the community, going to fairs, and doing some interpreting in the Spanish language, give us a call. We would love to talk to you. So we've kind of got this position on the books that we're interested in finding the right person for. So.
There you go.
Now, I know it's a bit early, but I think Lisa would appreciate this, and we'll just take a quick shameless plug for the Brewfest next year.
Oh, sure. Well, you know, I don't really like to say Brooker and beer and brew in the same sentence.
I wasn't sure where that was going.
And, you know, it's an interesting fundraiser that we created. And we didn't create it. St. Maron Church was doing a Brewfest for years, and they invited us to partner with them. We had assets that they didn't have in terms of young people, workers, and they had the structure and the way to run the event. So we partnered that together, and it's been a great marriage of talent and energy and everything.
Very
so the
successful.
Brewfest next year, June 8th, 2024 at Ski Sundown. It's a fantastic event with a band.
Did they
and
have it this year?
we did on June 10th. I believe was
Okay.
the date, and very successful. We had 1,900 people at Ski
Wow.
Sundown,
Yeah.
and we have some new things planned for next year that are going to make it even more exciting. So
Yeah.
that's a great fundraiser that
Interesting.
benefits St. Marin, which is a great local church and Brooker. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yep.
amazing.
Thanks for that opportunity.
No problem.
Yeah,
I
well,
think Lisa would kill me if I can't believe you want to show you didn't. Oh, I don't
Well,
want to.
there's a couple programs I didn't mention, but we talked about a lot of other interesting things, and that
Yeah.
was that was really
Well, we're
great.
going to have you back.
yeah,
Oh, I'll
we
be
can
back.
definitely have you back for another.
That would be great. I
I
would
told
love
you
to.
this
Jack.
was your audition.
Did I pass?
You passed.
Oh, I got the
With flying
gig?
colors.
Colors.
You got-
On that note, we don't have much time left, so
Yeah, let's get to our shout-outs. How's that sound? We want to do our shout-outs to businesses in Torrington that we want to let them know that we appreciate them, okay? So without further ado, shout out to Dawn's Getaway, located at 24 Winstead Road in Torrington, Connecticut. Christie's Restaurant, located at 543 Winstead Road in Torrington. Also, Health Insurance Services, located at 438 East Main Street in Torrington. Wall and Fraunhofer, located at 117 Main Street in Torrington. Soul Latina Cafe, located at 31 Hungerford Street in Torrington. Also, Jimmy's Store, located at 1238 East Main Street in Torrington. 5 Points Art Center, located at 855 University Drive in Torrington. And last but certainly not least, George's Music at 1605 New Harrington Road in Torrington, Connecticut. And one last shout out to our big city sponsors, Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut. Better protection, better value. He can be reached at 860-496-7771. His contact is tothins@optonline.net. Also, Mel Brookman and Health Markets at 16 McDermott Avenue, Suite number 1, Torrington, Connecticut. You better call Mel. His number is 860-307-1128. And his contact is health-markets.com/health-insurance, INS. Also, Brooks, Todd, and McNeil Insurance, located at 69 Water Street in Torrington. Keeping an eye on your insurance needs since 1839. Wow, that is a long, long time. And he can be reached at 860-598-6753. Also at Brooks, Todd, McNeil, that's MCNEIL.com. And lastly, Dr. Michael Curry at 30 Peck Road, Suite 2105 in Torrington. Pediatric care for over 50 years. His number is 860-482-6177. And his contact is torringtonpediatrics.com. Kareem, please come back so you can do the sponsors. I didn't know how difficult this was. My
Sponsors is
goodness.
not easy.
It's not easy.
No, no. So
Yeah.
with a minute left, I
Yes.
know we didn't really get to talk about area happenings,
Yes.
but I'd like to say that now we're getting into that fall season. So apple picking and pumpkin picking is definitely the way to go. Please, if you have a favorite apple picking spot or a pumpkin picking spot, please call us in. Let us know where we should send people. We do have a lot of area pumpkin and apple picking places, from March Farms to, I believe there's one in Granby that I just visited this past weekend. But yeah, a lot of fun things to do still in the area.
Also, Friday at the Torrington Historical Society, Frankie Graziano is going to be there. Frankie's a Torrington native doing great things in the media world. That's going to be at 6:30, weather dependent. It'll either be outside on the beautiful Hotchkiss Filer Museum House grounds or in the Carriage House. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So in the meantime, it's
On
about
that
that time.
To
It
say
has been
goodbye.
fun. We'll see you back next week for more
Thank you
City
for
Views.
joining us.
Thanks, Kathy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having
Thanks,
me.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Peace out.
City Views.